So this session, guys, it's not like not too deep. It's not too deep about what we generally discuss about. I mean, in deep about the terminologies, but the basic, the essentials. The moment you start going to your office, first you join your first job, you might listen these kind of a terms basis on a scenario. So you have different perspectives, or you can say you have different scenarios where you can listen different types of a terminology. So the today's session is completely about just to understand what are the basic essential terminologies that we use in office and how we use it, with a simpler example. It's not uh, it's not like too deep. uh, we can also start implementing in our groups as well, once you understand what exactly it is. So you have uh, you have terms that we use in workplace. We have terms that we use in meetings. If we have terms, we if you I mean, if you are in a project call or a complete technical jargons, and you have something which a general HR or general managers, when you have your appraisals mostly, what kind of a terms you generally observe. Those are the things that will be covered right now. Okay. So why the terminology matters? So I know that for you guys it might be a little early, but why the session is useful? So the session is useful just to make sure you are ready. It's not like you just go there and all of a sudden you see or you listen some of the terms which are completely new to you. You might not understand. Again, you might go to your boss or you can go to your senior and you ask what actually meaning it is. So before you have that much of difficulty, the main idea of this particular topic is to give you an understanding about what are the basic things we generally use in office. So to have that clear and effective communication to reduce your misunderstanding, uh, for smooth workflows and collaboration, to have integration along with the other colleagues faster, and also to enhance your professional credibility. So now, what is the general common office linguistic terms that we use? First term, workflow. So workflow is like whenever you have a person asking you what is a workflow, what is a sequence, or what is a task, or what is a step. So instead of you ask what are the steps that we have to do, you just say to a person, see, okay, can you just give me a workflow of this particular project? Like, so it means it means like what is the steps that we have to do, what are the things we have to check. So all these things covered in one term, that is workflow. Next, deliverables. So deliverables is nothing but it's a kind of a deadline or an outcome, you would say. Let's say uh, let's say if I speak in terms of an office, let's say if one person has a task to test entire code. So what is the outcome? Uh, so what is the outcome of that particular task? To give you a test end report. So that entire thing is replaced, or we use it as a deliverable. So whenever we say deliverable of a person, my deliverables are uh, doing a testing of that particular product, checking if there is any improvements, just checking if there are any errors that have been thrown up, making a report and sending is my deliverable. That's how we use the term deliverable. Deliverable is nothing but what are your tasks or what are the outcomes of a particular process. Next, stakeholders. So generally, when it comes to stakeholders, uh, for this particular group, for SPECANCIENS team, you guys are our stakeholders. Everyone are stakeholders. So we are part of this particular organization. I mean, anyone who is into the organization, who's part of an organization, will be considered as a stakeholder. Okay. Next, KPI, key performance indicator. So KPIs we generally use when what is the effective like achieving company business objective. Let's say, for example, my KPI example, my KPI is to deliver the session effectively, or else the other KPIs, like let's say Samit or someone, some person is recording this session. His KPI is make sure there is no loss of the session, and also deliver or capture the session entirely with 100% accuracy. It's like you're not missing any details, you're adding the details whatever it is missed, and making sure you deliver it perfectly. So that is a key performance indicator. So generally in office terminology, if it's testing background, they will say uh, delivering or identifying any bugs, and making sure you are reporting to the developer team without, with 100% accuracy. Similarly, developers KPI would be creating a code with a minimal errors. That would be a key performance indicator. So this term we generally use basis on metrics or to demonstrate a person's performance. KPI. Next, SOP, standard operating procedure. SOPs is nothing but a step-by-step instruction. So let's say if you have to do a task, there are 10 steps that needs to be followed. So in office term, we call it SOP. Okay. Next, ROI, return on investment. So let's say, so this is completely on basis of finance again. Let's say if you are investing or something, or let's say if you using a particular tool, or you're working on a particular project, and you have to make sure what is the return on investment. Let's say uh, you're investing 100 rupees into one product. So do you have that scalability, or do you have, so let's say if I invest in 100 rupees, can my product in future return back that 100 rupees within less price? Can it get a return ratio, is called as return on investment, ROI. This term is mostly used by finance background, person who handles project finances. So they just, or the mostly business analysts or sometimes managers will use this term ROI. But ROI means return on investment. Best practices. Best practices is nothing but any methods or techniques that is proven to be uh, most effective. Let's say if some guy is using some guy is using a procedure where instead of 72 hours, he can able to finish that work in 48 hours. So instead of 3 days, a person is finishing in 2 days with 100% accuracy or with 100% effectiveness. So that method or technique is called as best practices. So generally, Whenever there is an efficient work that has been done, we share our best practices. So that's how we use the term best practices. So my best practice is you convert this particular code into something, or check this code while doing some unit testing. So it can be anything. I'm just giving you an example. Yes. Next, meeting and collaboration. This highlighted part is my most favorite because I had a very crazy story with that. I joined a team, but I didn't know they call minutes of meeting as mom. They told record the minutes, and someone said, "Have you taken mom?" I was like, "Yeah, the minutes are like 24 minutes of meeting." And yeah, where should I take my mom? I actually asked this question. I said to my manager, like, okay, where should I take my mom? My mom is at workplace. Should I take her to something? I was not informed about it. So I was still in the dilemma. Ki, have you taken mom? I mean, the moment my manager asked this question, I I innocently asked this question. Then I understood. Moms is nothing but minutes of meeting. There is another term, dad, details of discussion. Details and discussion, dad, minutes of meeting, mom. So from that time, whenever someone asks what is mom, a fresher come to ask me what actually a mom. I actually share this story because even he was in under the same impression. So you guys, I would say, would be lucky to learn this little soon. Minutes of meeting. Mom is nothing but official meeting, written record. So like what happened, what we discussed in the meeting. Okay. Next, agenda. List of items. So this is a complete basic thing, a list or a table of contents. Next is action item. If there is any task that has been assigned to you, so that will be an action item. So let's say my action item is to deliver this particular presentation. Someone's action item would be to maintain a record of it. Someone action item is to edit this particular video and share it on a platform. So any documented task within a stipulated time is an action item. Brainstorming. So if we are thinking of some activity and we discuss things, that is called brainstorm. Brainstorming is nothing but it's not like a storm is coming to your brain. That's not a literal meaning. It's like you're trying to think of an idea for a particular task. So that is a brainstorm. Next is synergy. This is a very, this actually been used by mostly managers, not by team members. But synergy is nothing but it's like interaction of two or more organizations. Let's say, uh, you might have heard like kind of a consultancy or else contract workers where two organizations or more organizations combine work so that they have a greater effect with a less space. So that's what a synergy means. Next is cross functional. So this is within teams. So let's say you have a developer team and testing team working on one project. That is a cross functional team. That means cross function. So two functions coming together for one task is called cross function. Huddle. Huddle is nothing but a small meeting, a small informal meeting, just like a quick 5 minutes or 10 minutes a meet. We call it as a huddle. So generally, if you guys meet for, if let's say if you're working on a particular project and you before you presented, you just had a small meeting like what needs to be discussed, what are the pointers, a small informal meet, we call it as a huddle. Next, project management terms. So this project management terms is mostly you might find these in meetings, like what is a project scope. So generally when you are discussing with what is the scope of a project, like what are the deliverables, what is the objective, what are the tasks that needs to be done, so these are considered under project scope. Next, timeline. So what are the timeline? So what is that? It's like, uh, first what needs to be done, second what needs to be done, third what needs to be done, which task to be done first, which task to be done second. Let's say planning is first, execution is second, support or deliverables are third. So for every task you have a particular time, like within 1 week you have to finish first task, which is 3 weeks we have to finish second task. So that is called as a timeline. So timeline is a word where we say what other chain of events that would happen. Deadline you already know. I'm assuming that you'd already know. If you doesn't know, deadline means it's like the last date or the what is the end time for that particular task to be finished. Milestone, a significant point of a project or progress. Let's say out of 3 sprint phases, if you finish your first sprint, that's a milestone. If you second sprint, that's a milestone. Okay, next is budget. What is the estimate amount that needs to be done or that is expected? And resources. When it's a resources, either it can be in terms of money, in terms of equipment, in terms of time, in terms of availability, or terms of people. So resources are nothing but what are the things that we generally use to do a project, or how many are we expecting, you can say. So those comes under resources. Risk assessment. Risk assessment is nothing but, so before we deliver something, we have to think in a perspective like what could be a kind of risk. Let's say if I'm talking about something, let's say if I'm talking about a project, and if some other company has a similar idea and I saw it and I implemented the same in my project, so what would could be a risk? Risk can be in terms of patent, or it can be in terms of what do you say, copyright issue. So these can be a risk assessment. So what if I develop a code inspired by someone, and I use it in my code, and I got a copyright for that, so it would be a loss in terms of money for me. So we have to make sure, like if we are doing this particular task, what can be a risk and how to avoid it. So this is the importance of a risk assessment, which we do when we design or start working on a project. Next, technology and digital workplace terms. Generally, when it comes to office workspace and you see IT teams, so whenever you have some issues, generally IT teams use these kind of a terminology. So there are few terms that you might, it's better to understand. First is intranet. Intranet is nothing but a private network accessible only to organization. So it's just like within only. It is not available to public domain. That's called an intranet. Next, cloud computing. So cloud computing is nothing but storing a data in a cloud instead of your computer hard drive. We, let's say, Google Drive, Amazon Web Services, Salesforce. So these comes under cloud computing. CRM, customer relation management. So generally it's a terminology to manage all your company's relationships or interactions. So mostly with teams or with tickets, it can be Jira, it can be ServiceNow. So you're trying to maintain that relationship with the customer in terms of a chat or in terms of email. So it's like you have that conversations actually. Next, ERP, enterprise resource planning. So when it comes to enterprise resource planning, so this term is generally in terms of, um, let's say you're setting up an office. So what is a general thing we need to set up an office? We need a desk, we need internet, we need CPUs, we need desktops, we need monitors, and sometimes if we are selling a product, we have to have a manufacturing, we have to have a sales, we have to have a marketing, we have to make a development. So it's like if you planning something on a product, you will plan like what are the needs that you have and what is the end product and how you market it. So these comes under ERP, enterprise resource planning. Sorry. Next, VPN, virtual private network. So this, uh, many people might have used it just to download some other countries games or some other content movies. So generally they connect to a virtual private network. So virtual private network, what it does is it spoof your ID. So generally Mac IDs or whatever your internet ID, generally spoof and give it. If someone is trying to access your Mac ID or an internet ID, VPN, what it does is it shows that instead of you're accessing in terms of India, it shows you're accessing it from USA. So generally people, IT teams generally use this VPN. Most of the connections in offices are actually based on VPN. You'll not have a direct connection anytime. Next, firewall. So this is a security system. So it's like whenever a person is trying to hack, so generally we have this firewalls which actually shield. So these terms we might use or we might not use until or unless you're a network engineer. But it's generally uh, IT teams who generally work on it, and they say if the system has been someone has been hacking, they generally say the firewall is being cracked or firewall has been breakdown. So you might listen these kind of terms when you visit in office. Digital transformation. Digital transformation is nothing but trying to make sure everything is been digital. So let's say if you are writing an attendance in an Excel sheet, instead of writing an attendance Excel sheet, you can transform that attendance into one button click. So digital transformation is nothing but not trying to be physical, making everything to be accessible within laptop or uh, within mobile. So that's called a digital transformation, where this term is generally used by IT teams. Now coming to human resource and professional development. So you whenever there is a talk with your HR or whenever there is an appraisal time, we generally listen these terms mostly. First is onboarding. Onboarding is nothing but very simple, joining the organization. Next is offboarding. Offboarding is nothing but when you're leaving the organization. Onboarding is joining the organization, offboarding is leaving the company or the organization. Professional development, it's like you try to continue education like within new skills or advancing your career. We call that term as professional development. Let's say now let's say for example, uh, just a second guys. Yep, I'm back. Sorry. Yep. So when I say professional development, so professional development, it's like you acquire a new skill to advance your career. So this comes under professional development. Performance review or appraisal is again, so like it's like assessment of what work you have done in a year. So that is called as a performance review. Mentorship. Mentorship is nothing but if you are following a person, or if you are seeking a guidance or an assistance, that term is called as mentorship. Employee assistance program. Employee assistance program is like a counseling session. It can be personal or work related problems. So let's say if you have a mental stress and you wanted to speak to someone, that's where we have this employee assistance program. Work life balance. It's like managing your work and your personal life mostly, and like, it's like a balance. Let's say your work hours is 9, you work for 9 hours, and then you spend your time with your family, you're doing some things. So this we called as work life balance. Yep, so these are the general terms we generally use when we are in office. There are other terms that is very related to a project specific, uh, or it can be something related to only for that particular tool specific, but these are the general terms you might listen once you join an office. Any questions?
Anna, what is an escalate means?
Escalate, escalation. See, escalation is nothing but it's like you if you do some let's say there is a task that has been assigned to you, and uh, let's say you are working on something. Okay, let's say you, I mean, mm, how can I give you an example? Okay, I'll give you an example. So let's say if you are working on some task, let's say you are working on a banking app, and
Hmm?
your task is to make sure like once the amount is been debited. Let's say if someone is uh, uh, debiting an amount like say 3,000 or 5,000 rupees, uh, once you refresh the app, that app has to integrate from the backend and that amount should be deducted. Let's say you have 50,000 rupees in your account. If you remove 5,000 from ATM, and you have, instead of 45,000 it still shows 50, or if it adds up like 55,000, that's a situation, it's like a kind of an error. So that, in general terms or in office terms, we call it as an escalation. So escalation could be anything. That is one example. If you have a complaint against one person, that is also called as an escalation. It's like a kind of an error or a complaint. So mostly you will understand once you start working in professional environment, but mostly these are the only things that we use as far as I remember. Escalate is one thing that I have missed in PPT, but yes. So these are the basic terms that we generally use, mostly use in an office space. So if there's no other questions, uh, so let's conclude. And thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your time.